I've been driving nights in this city for 3 years now. It's a question I get all the time. Why not days? The answer's simple, really. The pay is better, there's zero traffic, and honestly I love driving when the world finally decides to be quiet. It's peaceful. The streetlights paint these long, golden streaks across the wet roads, and the tall buildings seem to breathe slowly, like sleeping giants. I used to think I could do this forever, just me in the quiet city, until that one night. The dashboard clock glowed 1:47 a.m. when the ping came through, a new ride request. I glanced at the screen. The pickup was at the old General Hospital, specifically the abandoned wing. The drop-off was LPHC Alley in the Central District. It was a short distance, but the fare was unusually high. A little voice in my head told me to ignore it, but the money was too good. So, I accepted. Turning into the hospital's driveway felt like entering another world. The asphalt was cracked and broken, and overgrown trees scraped against the car's roof like long, skeletal fingers. A single fluorescent light flickered over the old entrance, buzzing erratically. The sign was so faded you could barely make out the words. As I pulled to a stop, my radio, which had been playing softly, suddenly hissed with static and then cut out completely. The dashboard screen flickered black for a single, unnerving heartbeat before coming back on. Just a low battery, I told myself. It had to be. That's when I saw him standing under that stuttering light. A man, maybe in his 40s, wearing a gray coat with a collar turned up and a hat pulled low, hiding his face in shadow. He didn't wait for me to greet him. He just opened the rear door and slid into the back seat without a single word. His voice was rough, like dry paper rustling, when he finally spoke. "Lafak Ali," he said. "Take the long way." I just nodded once, keeping my eyes forward. I didn't want to make eye contact. I put the car in drive and the tires whispered on the wet concrete as we pulled away. Inside the car, the silence was heavy. The streetlights slid across the windows in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. The city, usually quiet at this hour, felt completely empty, unnervingly so. I glanced at the rearview mirror. All I could see was the top of his hat and the line of his shoulders. His face remained lost in the deep shadows of the back seat. It was like he was intentionally hiding, melting into the darkness of the car. I tried to shake off the strange feeling, focusing on the road, but the silence just kept getting louder. We approached an intersection. The light ahead was red, but as we got closer, it switched to green, and it just stayed green for way too long. I looked around. There were no other cars, no pedestrians waiting to cross. Just us, sitting under a perpetually green light in a ghost town. The only sounds were the steady thump-thump-thump of the windshield wipers, which suddenly sounded like a nervous heartbeat. My own? Maybe. The radio was still dead silent. The atmosphere in the car was getting colder, thicker. I glanced up at the rearview mirror again, my stomach twisting into a knot. The back seat was empty. The hat was gone. The coat was gone. There was nothing there but the leather seat. It still held the impression of weight, a faint dent, as if someone had been sitting there just a second ago and it vanished into thin air. I slammed on the brakes. The car jerked to a violent stop right in the middle of that empty intersection. I checked the doors. The rear door was still locked from the inside. My heart was pounding against my ribs. A faint human-shaped dent remained on the seat, a clear sign that someone had just stood up from that exact spot. Silence pressed in on me from all sides. I sat there, just breathing hard, a cold sweat trickling down my back. Maybe it was my imagination. Maybe the strange light in the late hour were just playing tricks on my tired mind. I told myself that, over and over. I looked around wildly, scanning the empty streets, the dark buildings. Nothing. Not a single thing moved. It was just me in my car, alone in the dead center of the city. But I knew what I saw, or what I didn't see. I never made it to the drop-off. I don't even know if LPHC Alley was a real place. As I drove, the city itself seemed to change. The alley that my GPS pointed to wasn't right. There were no houses, no apartments, just crumbling brick walls and rows of old, grimy hospital windows, stacked up like forgotten memories. The alley felt like it was built from the bones of the abandoned building I had just left. It was a dead end that shouldn't have existed. I didn't hesitate. I turned the car around and drove straight home, my hands shaking so badly I could barely keep them on the wheel. The next morning, sunlight cut through the cheap blinds in my apartment. I hadn't slept. I was sitting on my couch, endlessly scrolling through the news on my phone, trying to find anything that might explain what happened. And then I found it. An article with a headline that made my blood run cold. Rideshare driver found deceased. The story said his body had been discovered 3 days ago, in the trunk of his car, abandoned near the old General Hospital. I clicked on the image. It was a grainy crime scene photo, and in the background, reflected in the abandoned car's rearview mirror, was a face, a faint, shadowed face, still wearing the hat. It was him. I slowly raised my eyes from the phone screen, my gaze locking onto my own reflection in the dark glass. For a split second, I saw a flicker, something unfamiliar, something else. watching me back from inside my own eyes. Last time, I told you I saw a face in my rearview mirror, a pale, smiling woman who wasn't there. I thought I was losing my mind. Tonight I know I wasn't. The car screeches to a halt at an empty intersection. The headlights cut through a thick, unnatural mist. I checked the rear door again, locked the engine idles, a low hum in the sudden silence. My shirt is soaked in cold sweat. I glance at the back seat. There's a faint dent in the leather, right in the middle, as if someone had just been sitting there. As I watch, it slowly fades, the leather smoothing itself out. It has to be my mind playing tricks, the streetlights, the fog, it's all just in my head. Then, a voice, soft.com, and so close it feels like it's being whispered directly into my ear. Don't stop the car. I freeze. Every muscle in my body locks up. My heart is a frantic drum against my ribs. I don't dare turn around. My eyes dart to the rearview mirror. Out of the deepest shadows in the back seat, a face begins to emerge. The skin is a pale, sickly gray. The eyes are just black, empty hollows. And the smile. The teeth are unnaturally white, gleaming in the darkness as if they're catching a light that isn't there. The smile stretches impossibly wide, a grotesque caricature of happiness. Suddenly, outside, the streetlights snap off one by one, plunging the entire road into absolute darkness. Gone. Only my headlights remain, two lonely beams cutting into the void. I put the car in drive, my foot trembling on the accelerator. The tires begin to roll, but the sound is all wrong. It's the crunch of gravel, sharp and loud, even though I know I'm on smooth asphalt. Then come the whispers. They're all around the car, pressing in from every side, right up against the windows. Dozens of voices, maybe more, overlapping and indistinct. Through the side windows, I see shapes gliding alongside the car, dart human-like silhouettes, but their feet never touch the ground. They just float, keeping pace. The voice from the back seat speaks again, still calm, still chilling. Don't look out the windows. They like your eyes. My hands are gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles are white. I stare straight ahead, focusing on the sliver of road illuminated by my headlights. The world outside the car becomes surreal. The street stretches on, impossibly long. Street signs blur past at an insane speed, then suddenly slow to a crawl before vanishing completely. I see the license plates of non-existent cars ahead of me float up into the air, tumble end over end, and dissolve into black mist. With every terrified glance I steal at the rearview mirror. The face is closer. Its black eyes seem to be staring right through me, into my soul. The too-wide smile never falters. My voice cracks as I finally ask the question that's been screaming in my mind. What? What are you? A soft, dry laugh echoes in the small space of the car. A driver, just like you. Only my shift never ends. Out of the darkness ahead, an alleyway appears. But it's wrong. Terribly wrong. There are no homes, no dumpsters, no signs of life. Just towering, windowless brick walls on either side, stacked high like a canyon. And on the walls, old, faded signs are layered on top of each other. Intensive care, morgue, emergency exit. It feels like I'm driving into the guts of some long-dead hospital. We're here, the voice says. Stop. Against my own will, my foot hits the brake. The car shudders to a stop. I watch in horror as the fuel gauge, which was at half a tank just moments ago, plummets to empty in seconds. My breath fogs up the windshield, a cloud of my own terror. A hand reaches forward from the back seat and rests on the back of my seat. The fingers are impossibly cold, like metal. Do you hear it? The passenger asks. And then I do a knocking. Slow, deliberate, and coming from the trunk of my car, thump, thump, thump. My voice is a trembling whisper. What's in the trunk? People who didn't buckle up. The voice replies. The sound swirling around me. People who looked out the windows. People who trusted mirrors. The knocking gets faster, more frantic. The whole car begins to vibrate with the impacts. Thump, 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 thump. Then, the passenger's voice changes. It becomes gentle, almost kind. If you want to live, don't look in the mirror again. Drive straight, no turns, no stops, no matter who calls your name. And as if on cue, my name begins to echo from every direction. It comes from the whispers outside, from the radio, from the air vents. Distorted, layered, some pleading, some mocking. My name, over and over again, a chorus from hell. I squeeze my eyes shut and slam my foot on the gas. The car surges forward, lurching out of the nightmare alley. The streetlights flicker back on one by one, chasing the darkness away. The radio crackles to life, and a normal song begins to play. My breath comes in ragged gasps. After a few moments, my heart still pounding, I can't resist. I risk one quick glance at the rearview mirror. The back seat is empty. No dent in the leather, no gray skin, no black eyes, no horrifying smile. Just my empty car. I drive until the sun starts to rise, pulling into the first gas station I see. I get out on shaky legs, my whole body trembling. I walk to the back of the car and, with a deep breath, I open the trunk. It's empty. Completely empty. Nothing. A wave of relief washes over me so powerful it almost brings me to my knees. It was a dream, a hallucination. It had to be. It was over. Later that morning, I'm in my apartment, sunlight streaming through the blinds. I'm scrolling through my phone, trying to forget, when I see a news article. The headline reads, "Rideshare driver found deceased. My blood runs cold." I read on. The body was discovered in the trunk of his own car, abandoned near the old derelict General Hospital. 3 days ago, there's a grainy crime scene photo with the article that shows the abandoned car, doors open, surrounded by yellow tape. And there, in the background, visible in the car's rearview mirror, is a reflection. A faint face, pale, gray, smiling that same impossibly wide smile. That face was still wearing the smile. I stare at the image on my phone, my breath caught in my throat. Slowly, I lift my eyes to my own reflection in the dark screen of my phone. For just a fraction of a second, I see a flicker. In my own reflection, something is watching me back.